this is episode, I don't know, what are we on?
This is episode 4.
Maybe 4, right? Episode 4 on the Slow Burn podcast. I'm Kellon Sanders.
Jason Honorecker.
And here at Slow Burn, we talk about all sorts of life experiences that we've had. And we try to maybe impart just a little bit of wisdom that we have. It's not very much, but we might have a thing or two to say.
What little we have.
What little we have.
Try to hand it off.
Try to hand it off to anybody that's willing to listen. So today we're going to talk about selfishness or being selfish and the opposite of
What's
that.
the title of the episode?
Selflessness. I don't know. Apparently you make all the titles.
It's called Be Selfish. That's the title.
Yeah, Jason makes the titles apparently. So if you like the title, you can thank Jason for that. So today is be selfish, but also part of being selfish is the opposite, which would be selfless. So we would have to talk about that as well, right?
Yeah, you can't be selfish all the time.
Yeah, well, you can, because I am, and I'm really bad at it. And it's really a bad personality trait that I have, is being as selfish as I am. It's not a good thing. I've actually become a lot less selfish over the last 4 or 5 years since rehab, and it has changed my life just dramatically. It's so much more fulfilling not to be so just so self-centered.
I would say even since just having kids, I think having kids makes everyone a little less selfish. Maybe not, maybe not perfect, obviously, but
Yeah.
You can't be selfish and be a father.
It's impossible.
You can't be selfish all the time and be a father, I should say. There are a
Right.
lot of fathers who are selfish a lot of the time, but you still have to provide food for a child. Like you still have to actually provide for another person.
That's right.
And that means you're at least a little bit not selfish.
At least a little bit, yeah. So I would definitely say that being selfish. If you've never been a selfless person in your life, and you may not understand or notice, but being selfish actually will work against you to your detriment. A lot of times, you will become extremely unhappy being a selfish person and only concentrating on yourself.
Yeah, it turns out focusing on yourself all the time doesn't make you very happy.
Like you would think it would.
Yeah, you think, hey, I'm working on myself all the time. I'm trying to make all this stuff work in my best interest, and man, I'm so unhappy.
Make you miserable.
Yeah, that's the fastest way to be a miserable human being. Yeah, because we're not wired that way.
Wired to give.
We are wired to give of ourselves to other people. You would think that, even just from an evolutionary standpoint, you would think that your desire to make yourself a priority would lead towards happiness or be a good thing. But for whatever reason, that's not the case. That's not the way it works. You could explain that also with evolutionary reasoning. So saying, as a human race living in a community, it works in the best interest of the whole race if everyone is actually looking out for each other's best interests. Or you can attribute that to our supernatural creation. Not everyone believes in that sort of thing, but I do, and I feel like the nature of humans to be selfish is something that we have, but the desire to be better through unselfishness is something that God puts inside of us too.
I don't know of many religions that I've studied that teach you to be selfish. They all tell you to look out for the other man, for your common man. They all teach you that.
There's some that
there's a reason for that,
right? And it's not just so God's happy,
right?
That's because it's good for you too.
It's good for you too, yeah.
But even though we should all default towards unselfishness as just a default practice or behavior or attitude, that's not always the best plan. There are definitely some situations where you need to be selfish. You need to put yourself as a priority.
That's what I was just going to ask you. What would be a situation or two where it's 100% okay to be selfish?
So I can come up with 3 pretty distinct situations where it is it is absolutely the best pathway to be selfish in those situations.
Okay.
The first one is where you are trying to create space in your life to do the things you're already doing the best that you can do them. So you have your life, it's full of all kinds of activities, relationships, your job, your hobbies. It's busy. You run from one thing to the next. You don't always have a lot of time to give, but then you are approached by someone who says, hey, I have this charity that needs someone to donate to it, and I would, we do great things, and we need revenue. We're trying to do such and such project. Can you give to this? Or you have someone approach you who says, hey, can you be the treasurer on the homeowners association? We just need someone to take this spot. We can't find anybody. It doesn't take much time. You just have to manage the budget, blah, blah, blah. So you always have someone trying to take time from you or take money from you. And if you're a person who isn't being selfish, you're going to say, yeah, of course I can give to that charity. Or, yeah, of course I can be the treasurer. I would love to help there.
So you don't want to get spread too thin, and it's okay to say no.
Yeah. So there are times when it will come across as you being selfish because you have time to give. Why won't you just give it? Just give it to us.
Right.
Or you have extra money. Look at your house. It's huge. You can just donate to this charity, and then starving children can eat.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are managing your life and your finances properly, you are already being intentional with your time. So you're already giving the time that you need to the things that you do to be good at those things. You're already giving parts of your budget to the charities that you chose because they are worthwhile and they're worth the investment. And you're managing the other parts of your finances so that you are taking care of your retirement. You're taking care of all your financial responsibilities with your debt. You're leaving money aside for emergencies.
So in the other person's eyes, you may appear to be selfish because you say no, but in reality, you are being selfless when it comes down to brass tacks because you're already managing these things as they need to be. You're already giving to another organization. Right. You're already saving for retirement. You're already on time with your bills.
Correct.
Et cetera.
And maybe in regards to your time management in your life, you have a wife or kids or friends or a job. You have things that require your time input. If you start giving away time that you don't have to give, or you're just being negligent with time management, so you don't even know if you really have time to commit to it, then it is not in the best interest of the person who's requesting your time or for the people that already need your time.
I like that. I like what you said. It's not in the best interest of the person requesting your time, and they don't know that.
Right.
Because you could come to the table and just flub it up because you don't really have the energy to exert. You've already expended all of it.
What I mean, an answer you can give is you don't want me to be a part of this. I know it looks like I would be a good candidate for this, or I know you want to go on this weekend vacation in a few weeks, but I can't give you what I need to be able to give you for this to work out well.
Right.
Because I have not made the space in my life for that right now.
Right.
If I have enough warning, then maybe this works out later in the future. Or if I can shift around some of my obligations where I can make some more room in my life for this, then maybe that happens down the road. But this is not enough time for me to readjust my life to make this possible. And it's not fair for me to commit to this when I can't.
Right.
Or even if I haven't done the inventory in my life to know if I can commit to this. So I'm just offering up time or finances that I don't even
know.
I don't know.
Right.
I might not have any time to do this. I have no idea what my commitments are right now.
Yeah, you definitely wouldn't know because Lindsay's always got your everything laid out for you.
Yeah, if only she'd just tell me about it all.
Yeah, if only you knew.
Yeah. That's why we check in on a regular basis. I'll say, Lindsay, what am I doing tomorrow?
Yeah. What's my honey-do list?
Yeah, like what are my things I have? And now we don't even have to do that. Like she just sent me a text earlier saying, "Hey, you're taking Brecklin to such a birthday party tomorrow."
Right.
And I'm like, "Okay, great. What time and where am I going?"
Makes it easy for you, right?
Or if I make plans, then I will tell her, "Hey, listen, on Saturday," because if I don't tell her, she'll fill up my time. So
It's it's been interesting, and I'm going to say something that we haven't said on a podcast yet, but Jason's wife and I are partners on a business, which is a med spa. And so it's been interesting starting a podcast with you and a med spa with her, investing in both of those, and then arranging the time between the two of you and the kids. Because sometimes she's like, well, I have the kids, like they're going to be on the Zoom meeting, or, you're like, well, I got to bring the kids there. I'm like, that's fine. Bring them in. It's been interesting watching you guys juggle the time between each other and orchestrating all of this between both businesses that we've recently done.
yeah,
this
I
year.
bet it feels weird because
It does.
Lindsay and I don't always coordinate together all these little details. So
Right.
it's like you're like coordinating time with two versions of the same person almost. Like
a little bit, yeah. I'm like, it's arranging things with Lindsay is dramatically different than it is arranging it with you. Lindsay is very spur of the moment, but she'll be on time. You're consistent, but consistently late. So it's very different. But I have grace for it. We make it work.
kudos to you for figuring out how to make it work with both of us.
That's right.
'cause
Hey man, both are doing well. So
I don't think either of us are always the easiest to work with, just in different situations.
yeah, no, you guys are easy to work with. It's not that big of a deal. So that's one. What's the second way that it's okay to be selfish?
So another way, and this is a big one. I think a lot of people struggle with this. So setting boundaries in relationships.
Yeah, that's important.
There are a lot of situations where people are in relationships where you're being taken advantage of all the time, and it's because we already have this established relationship, and you feel like it's okay for me to ask this of this person because this is my family member or my close friends or whatever, and I need it. So they just continue asking and demanding things and trying to pull something out of you, whether that's you helping them with stuff or giving them money for things. This is often seen in family where there's one certain family member who just doesn't they don't have their life together.
They just can't get it together yet.
So they're always needing like, hey, I can't make my car payment next
Right.
month. Can you help me out? Or, hey, I'm supposed to do this thing with my friends tomorrow night and I don't have anybody to watch the kids tomorrow night. Can you help me out? And so there's always some kind of crisis or they need something and they're always comfortable asking you. And
Because they know that you'll do it.
Right.
Because you haven't put up a healthy boundary.
Right.
Which is selfish to them, but selfless to you.
Right. So you're giving of yourself and they're taking advantage of it. And a lot of times it's financial. So they'll say, I need help paying my car payment. I'll pay you back next month. Don't worry about it. Like I've got it. My paycheck doesn't come till Friday and I owe the money tomorrow. Well, Friday comes around and their paycheck gets in and they're like, man, but I really need those new shoes. Or
Phone.
turns out I need a new phone, or even a lot of cases, like turns out my phone payment is due on Friday that I totally forgot about. And now half my paycheck went to my phone payment or whatever. Hopefully not half. That's either a big phone payment or
a low check.
A really low check. But there's always some next disaster that keeps them from sticking to
So
the
having a
obligations.
healthy boundary with that close friend or family member is a good situation in which you can be selfish because you do need to protect yourself.
Yeah, and it's not even so much like, I mean, you are being selfish in a way. So someone needs something from you and you're saying, no, I can't give you that.
Yeah. Let me give you an example of a guy that was very dear to me because he had addiction problems and I was helping him out here and there financially. And eventually I had to stop helping him out with money. And it wasn't even very much. It was literally like $50 or $60 every few weeks that he would need money. Eventually I had to stop telling him that he could have it but not because I didn't have 50 or $60, but because he needed to learn how to get it on his own. And so I wasn't trying to be selfish with him. I was trying to, one, not enable him anymore to rely on me, and then number two, teach him that he needs to manage his money better or work more, one or the other.
Yep. There was a friend that
It's
we had.
almost fathering him in a way.
And honestly, there's a sense of enabling when you continue just giving of yourself, continue being unselfish towards those people. You get this sense of enabling, like you're just allowing them to continue making the same mistakes over and over again, and then bailing them out.
Right.
And they never really learn.
No.
So you do end up in kind of a mentor situation, or at least guiding someone through a life lesson that they just really need to learn.
Yeah.
And parents do this with their children all the time. So that you allow your kids, your kids will make decisions, and
You need to let them struggle.
you have to let them make
You have
mistakes.
to let them hurt.
Yeah. They don't learn. They don't learn by you bailing them out all the time.
No, not at all.
They learn by you teaching them how to make good decisions, and then letting them make those choices on their own.
That's right.
And then if they screw it up, then you're right there to help them
navigate
learn from
them.
it.
Yeah, help them learn.
But you're not there to bail them out.
No, or make their decisions for them.
Because that's not how people learn how to navigate life. So, and in a lot of ways, you're not just being selfish, you're protecting your relationship with that person, because you
It may not seem like it, but you are.
setting boundaries protects your relationship.
And it makes the other person respect you.
Um,
And it protects your relationship too. Yeah.
yeah, there were times.
Was there a time I asked you for money and you didn't give it to me? I can't remember. Or I asked you for money and you did, or maybe it was one of each.
There's been a few different situations in your past when you were
Destitute.
struggling.
Yeah.
In different ways. So there was a time when you had asked me to live in the house with you and other guys.
Yeah, I
You're
remember
like,
that.
hey, there's a spare room. Do you want to come live here?
Yeah, you
and
said no to
be
that.
fun. I'm like, I don't think I can.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good. I think this is a boundary that I need to set up, because
Oh yeah, definitely.
you're not in a place where I was actually worried that it would end up ruining our friendship.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I
could see that.
didn't want to be put in a spot where living in a situation that wasn't good for me, because you were still struggling, making good decisions
Right.
through the addiction and all kinds of stuff. I didn't want that to affect our friendship.
Right.
I wanted us to still maintain
So
this
that
good
was
friendship.
you creating a healthy boundary with me by saying, no, I'm not going to move in. Because that would have been bad. You're right. Yeah.
I don't think it would
I
have worked
forgot
out
about
very
that.
well.
No.
And there's been financial stuff here and there. I
I don't
can't
think
remember.
that was a big deal, though. I think you loaned me money and I just paid you back or something.
Yeah, there's been time. I mean, small things here and there
Yeah.
for that sort of thing. And you've
Right.
always respected our friendship enough where you've not taken advantage of me in that way.
No.
Definitely not financially.
Right.
So I've never.
But you did end up eventually living with me.
Yes,
Like 2 years ago, your whole family moved in for like.
did.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
How long
man.
was that?
Like a month. You guys lived in my house for a month.
I bet that was hard, but also fun for you.
I was happy to do it. Yeah.
I know you were, and I loved that time that we got to spend, because I got to see you all the time, every day.
Every
It's almost
day.
like being roommates again.
I know. That was fun.
But you had a family of 5 living in your house.
I know, it
when
was
you're used to being
hilarious.
there by yourself.
Yeah. It was hilarious. I really enjoyed it.
Now there were times when you're like, man, you guys cooked food.
Yeah,
I'll take
I
some.
loved that. That was awesome. But in exchange for that, there's mud everywhere from the dogs.
Yeah, you had a family of 5 plus 2 dogs.
Yeah.
In your house.
Yeah.
Man, that was very unselfish of you.
Should have put up a healthy boundary and not let you guys come in.
But yeah, so if it's someone whose relationship is really important to you, setting those healthy boundaries and saying no at very strategic moments is actually a good thing. that allows you to continue being friends,
Right.
or to continue being close as family members, because even if they don't, even if they're just taking advantage of you and you feel like you're being manipulated all the time, then that builds resentment, and that will damage the relationship just by itself. So
Absolutely.
in a way, I think in all of these examples, you are being selfish, but it's not just in your own interest. It's because that's the healthiest thing
for the
to do.
relationship.
Right.
Right.
You're establishing boundaries to protect a relationship, or you're saying no to a commitment because you want to give everything you have to your other commitments that you've already made intentionally.
What's that saying by Marcus Aurelius? I think it's what's good for the hive is good for the bee. Or is it what's good for the bee is good for the hive?
I don't know that one.
You don't know that one? Yeah, I read that one in his meditations book, but I can't remember which. I could see it going both ways, but yeah, anyways. In this context, it would make sense that what's good for the hive is good for the bee.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the way it goes. It is now, though.
That's the way we're going to say it.
We're going to say it. I'm going to make up my own. So is that the second one?
That's the second situation.
So you had 3 for us. What
The
would
third
the
one
be?
is for a particular type of person. So there are a lot of people in this world. In my past, have been more of this, but there are people who are very much people pleasers, and they don't know how to say no to anything. They say yes to everything, and because they always feel obligated to agree with people.
Is that you?
In the past, I have natural tendencies like that.
Okay.
As a type B personality, like I love to say yes. Like
Yeah.
I love to help people.
I'm the opposite. I love saying no.
I have
It
had to
gives
learn.
me a small sense of like evil pride. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Absolutely not.
like control or power.
I don't know what it is, man, but I have to say no a lot, especially over the last few years when I've just bombarded with opportunities, and I'm just like, nope, not doing it. Can we change, Kellon? Can we change this at the company? Nope, we're not changing anything. Nope, we're not doing this. Nope. No, we're not changing what time we open. No, we're not changing what time we close. You know, because you just get ideas every day from different people.
You've gotten to the point where you just default to no.
I default
like,
to no.
hey, Kel, can we no?
Nope. The answer is always no.
No.
Yeah.
Or sometimes like, well, you need to give me a lot better information than that if I'm going to agree to this. That's like the.
But usually it's no. Hey, can we paint I know the inside of the stores are black and green. Can we put some purple in here? No. I've gotten that question, and I'm like, no, you can't do that.
Purple. Someone just really into purple.
Yeah, they're like, oh, purple would look good with this. I'm like, what are you, somebody's crazy aunt? You can't put all that together, purple and green and black. It doesn't go together.
But I think for those people who are just yes men, or they are way too agreeable, they get walked on all the time.
All the time.
They just get
Yeah.
trampled over. They're not even able to establish themselves as an individual because they are so agreeable to everyone around them. When I was a kid, actually, I never had any opinions about anything.
Oh, man.
I just
Really?
didn't have them. They weren't. So it wasn't like I was hiding them or I was scared to give them.
Yeah.
I just didn't have any.
You just didn't have one.
I never thought about like what I would want. I was just kind of on board for whatever.
You're
all
like,
the time.
whatever.
Yeah. And so
But your opinions that you do have are like, they're not like, you could go out to eat wherever, you could watch whatever movie. Your opinions on those things are like, you don't care. But where the kids go to school and where in town that we're going to live, or the principles that we're going to live by, like the big things, you're not just opinionated, but you live by a set of principles that they're going to be that way because they're really for the best.
I'm actually, a lot of people don't know this, but I'm actually one of the most stubborn people that I know.
Mm-hmm. I could see that. You come across as not stubborn, but if it comes down to like some sort of life principle or some sort of like, usually it's a life principle,
Something important.
It's it's going to be your way, and it needs to be because you're right. You're usually right. Like I will default to, if I have a question for you, I'm like, Jason's going to know the answer to this. If I ask you, I don't care if I agree with you or not. I'm going to do what you say because you know better.
There are also situations because of my past where I felt like people did take advantage of me, or they just kind of got me to do things that I really didn't want to do, but because they wanted me to, I was like, well, okay. Not on super important things, but on things where I just didn't really care that much. If they wanted me to do them and I didn't, even if I didn't want to, then I would just say, yeah, sure.
Does
Now,
Lindsay think you're stubborn?
She knows I am, but only in specific things.
Only on certain things.
Yeah. She knows that if it comes down to if Jason makes up his mind on something, there's no point in even continuing the conversation.
I believe that.
So the classic story is when I was telling a story, and I'm bad at stories. Like they take forever.
They do take a long time.
I give too much backstory.
But the details are great.
And the whole process is a little bit entertaining. But I was taking too long, and I kept getting interrupted. And so I would try to tell a story, someone would interrupt, and I'd have to stop. And then someone else would interrupt in another 30 seconds, and I'd have to stop. And so eventually I was like, guys, can I tell my story?
Yeah.
I'm trying to finish. And they're like, yeah. And then I started again, and someone interrupted again, and I was like, okay, that's it. I'm not telling my story. And they're like, no, you can tell. We'll stop. I was like, no, I'm done.
3 times.
To this very day, that was 20 years ago. To this very day, I don't even remember what story it was. I never told it. They asked me dozens and dozens of times.
They probably still ask you to finish it. You're like, nope.
Every once in a while, like, Jason, remember that story that you were going to tell? Do you remember what that was? No, I forgot it. I'll never tell it.
It would be a lot better if you do remember it. You're like, I do. And I'm never telling
If I did remember, I still wouldn't tell it.
I love you.
I would not. There's also a time
20 years later, like, you interrupted me 3 times 20 years ago. I'm not finishing the story.
I told them, I was like, if you guys can keep interrupting me, I'm just not going to tell the story. And they interrupt me again. So like, okay, that's it. I'm not telling it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give them more chances. Like,
yeah.
I don't care how dumb it is.
Yeah.
Like, I drew the line here and then you stomped on it. So, but this is a little bit in response to when I was younger and kids would, like, people didn't respect my boundaries or my no. When I said no, they didn't respect that. They would just kind of try to get me to go along anyway. No means no, right?
No means no.
And so I had to grow into a person that would say no. And it took a lot of work because I like saying yes, and I like helping people a lot. I like being agreeable. I like doing what other people think is fun. So there was another story. I was out with some friends. This was years ago. I was out with some friends. We went to a bar, and someone wanted me to take a shot. And it was like I don't know. It was some vulgar term. It was like a blowjob shot or something.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want that.
Have you ever been drunk?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think that you would ever, because I've seen you.
Don't you remember me throwing up in your car?
Yeah, but you. So
with the top down.
Quick story. I had this Mercedes right out of college, and I looked really stupid in it, but it was a 2-seater convertible. I looked so dumb. I thought
you loved it though.
At the time I did, until I pulled up next to a guy at a stoplight with the same car with a suit and tie on. I'm like, man, that guy looks like a dumbass. And I was like, oh, that's what I look like. And so I sold it the next day and got an Expedition. Anyways, I had this Mercedes, and then we had the top down, and Jason and I left the bar. We had done copious amounts of drinking. We were like 24, 25 or something.
We were young and stupid.
Yeah, and the top's down, and Jason just like, he's like, I don't feel so good. And he puts his hands up to his mouth like this, and he just starts vomiting like projectile through his fingers all into my car. But mind you, the friggin' top is down. Like, you could have just stuck your head up or just thrown your head out the side, like anywhere, in any direction except in front of you. And it's just spewing, vomiting all out in my new Mercedes car. I'll never forget that you did that.
So let me explain the thought process that was happening when that was going on. So
what was that? You were being really selfish, throwing up all over my car.
No, well, so here, listen to this. So my thought was, I could lean over the side, but then I'll get puke all over the side of his car.
Yeah, let's get it in all over the car.
I didn't want to do that. So I felt like I can just hold this in somehow. Yeah. Like I don't throw up easily. I hate throwing up, which is one of the many reasons I don't drink like that anymore. And
Still, the mental image of you of it just like coming out of your fingers and going all over the window, all over the dash.
I mean, it almost was that bad.
What do you mean? That's what happened. What do you mean it almost was that bad? That's what happened.
It wasn't shooting on the window.
It was all over the place, Jason. I had to go get the thing detailed the next day.
Yeah, you totally did. But I thought, I don't want to throw up on the side of his car. So if I can just contain it here in front of me somehow, then I won't get it anywhere on his car. But I had been drinking. My decision making was really compromised. So,
oh my God.
I mean, that sort of
drinking
happened very rarely and hasn't happened in a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't like drinking that much at all these days because I get sick every time. Like
yeah.
Before there's any kind of effective alcohol, I just start getting nauseated.
Yeah.
I'm kind of thankful for that, honestly.
I did, we're way off subject right now, but whenever I was heavy in my addiction, I knew it was going to make me super sick, and I would just do it anyways. That's how messed up addiction is. You just look at that thing, you're like, this is going to really screw me up bad, and you're just like, whatever,
just go for it.
Yeah. Speaking of being selfish, addiction will make you the most selfish person on the planet.
I bet. I mean, you can see you see moms giving up their kids for prostitution.
Yep.
Just to get a hit of drugs is
it's terrible.
It's unimaginable betrayal.
Yes, it is.
And it's not even a second thought for people.
It's not. They can't think straight. It's terrible because if they wouldn't do that if they knew better. If they could.
If they're.
Yeah, you wouldn't do it
if they were sober. I mean, even thinking back to people who were able to get clean, thinking back to the kinds of things you did to those around you when you were under the power of addiction.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine the guilt that comes along with that. You just really have to work through some of that pain.
Part of your recovery from addiction is you have to reconcile with everybody that you wronged that you could possibly think of.
Yeah.
And that's difficult because you have to go to them and admit to them, I know I was selfish and this is what I did. Like you have to literally list out the exact thing that you did wrong. Like, hey, I cheated on you, I stole from you, and I lied to you about X, Y, and Z. And I acknowledge that I did that. Is there anything else that I did to you that you can remember? But it's very freeing after you do it all.
Humbling too. Like
it's extremely humbling. You're like, my God, I was a piece of crap. I was such a bad person for such a long time. But man, you talk about being selfish. Oh man, it's horrible. It's a horrible way to live. It really is.
I'm thankful that I never got pulled into it. I mean,
No, you didn't. For as long as we have been friends, you never got pulled into my issues ever.
But you were very respectful for that part of me. So our friendship I was never really that exposed to that part of your life.
Mm-mm.
And I think
I knew better than to expose you to it.
I think you probably knew that would have ruined things for, one of the most important relationships in your life and my life. And so I think you very intentionally removed that.
Very intentionally, yeah.
Which I'm grateful for that too.
Yeah,
so.
not like doing cocaine at your house or something like that.
Yeah, that would have been
a deal breaker for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
For getting back on track though, so for people who are too agreeable, you get walked on. You are someone who doesn't express your opinions. You're not good at being strong about saying no. I think it's very healthy to just make a habit of saying no to things. You just start practicing saying no, and even if it's hard, even if you have the time to give for something. Just saying no and practicing doing it, because then you start to learn to set those boundaries in your life as an individual, and you get better at doing that. And so you can, after time, it's almost like drugs, like, well, probably not like drugs, but it's like we talked about with digital minimalism in getting a healthier relationship established with technology. At the very beginning, you just eliminate it completely as much as possible. Mm-hmm. Just get rid of it and wipe that slate clean as much as you can. And it's kind of the same with this, where you just start saying no to everything.
No matter what.
You just
it
get
is.
practice doing it and get comfortable doing it. Make it feel good.
Yeah.
Like, no. No, I can't do that. Nope, I can't do that. No, 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 no. You just say it all the time. And so it becomes easier to say no. And then as you establish a healthy relationship with committing to things or your response to people's requests, then you can start to be a little more discerning about when you do say yes and saying yes intentionally instead of as a default answer.
Right.
But it does take some growth to get there, and I worked through that for, I would say, throughout high school and college. It took years for me to get to the point where I felt comfortable saying no to something in my life that I felt like I had time to do, where I thought I probably did have the money to give. It took a lot of work to get to where I could say no, but I'm glad that I got there, because now I can be very discerning in what I say yes to, what I say no to. So if
It's
I had
just
already,
another area where we're so opposite, where I just default to it.
I know.
Yeah, all the time, and I probably need to work on saying yes, honestly, to the right things.
That's
truth be
so
told.
for you. And you've said like I have a problem with being selfish, and so it depends on where you're coming from.
Sure.
If you have a problem being too unselfish and giving too much of yourself, where you run yourself thin,
Right.
then practice saying no.
Right.
Practice things that you're not good at. There's that movie Anger Management. You've seen that?
Yeah, long time. Yeah.
Adam Sandler and Jack Nicholson, and the whole premise of the movie I think is really brilliant, because the guy goes to anger management because he doesn't ever get angry, right? So he is confronted with all these things, this conflict, and there are times just like this. There's times to be selfish. There's times to get angry about something, or to have an emotional response.
Absolutely.
And the people close to you want you to have a response, or to be emotional about something. And for him, it was, he needs anger management to learn how to be angry and to set boundaries. So they have Jack Nicholson just like walking all over him and abusing him and just being ridiculous in that movie. And he's just bottling all this emotion in there as he's actually getting upset, but he still won't let it out because he's terrible at it. So I like that movie it teaches actually a really healthy lesson for people in the area of psychology, and it applies to selfishness. If you are too unselfish, you need to practice saying no. If you find yourself being too selfish or saying no too much, then practice saying yes to things,
Right.
and agreeing to something that you really just don't want to.
Yeah.
Because it feels good when you get better at something that you know is a problem.
Yeah.
It starts to feel good, even if you find yourself committing to things that you regret getting into.
Right. I think we should do another. We'll have to come to a close here in just a minute, but I think we should do another episode on more on selflessness and like being of service.
Yeah. So just being able to give.
Mm-hmm.
That segue is good from where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are we going to talk about on the next episode?
I actually don't remember.
This is a really good one, and it does go along with being selfish, but our next episode is on pride and ego.
Okay. Yeah.
I have a lot to say about that.
Well, that segues well too. You're right. So
it's going to be a
that'll
really
be good.
one. Yeah. So tune in next week for the pride and ego.
Yeah, I'll have less to say because like we mentioned today, like I come from a place of agreeing to everything.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go be selfless right now and go get my kids and take them to a nice seafood dinner.
Have fun. We're going to a baseball game.
All right.
See you guys.